Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bridge Political Owl. I'm back again. It's been a few weeks since I've done a live stream. There are reasons for that. Most of you know them. That currently I'm without permanent accommodation. Bridge County Borough Council have been great housing me in Court Coleman, but I've been brought. I could bring you this live stream thanks to Ed Sheeran. It's live stream sponsored by Ed Sheeran. Thanks to him and his 3 concerts this week, there were no hotels to house me in, and there've been some great friends. Lisa Lewis, Martin and Amanda let me use their places for a couple of days, and I'm at Martin and Amanda Williams' Coity Towers at the moment, which means I can actually do a live stream for the first time in since the 8th of May. A few things. It's been slow and there's not been much from councils. There's been a few things coming up on Facebook and things like that. I think the biggest exception is Councillor Chris Davis up in Kyra. He seems to be posting something every day, doing a lot of good work up there, putting in a lot of referrals to get things done. And some of the things have been done. I'll speak later of what I've been doing for these past couple of weeks. I haven't just been sat in a hotel room. I've been dragged here, there and everywhere by Councillor Lisa Lewis from Coity Higher Community Council. And we've got some things and I'll discuss them later. But I'm going to introduce my guests now and I'm going to bring them in. Today I'm being joined by Councillor Ellie Richards of Aberkenvic and Coitrehain. Hello Ellie, how are you today?
Hello. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yes, it's been a while. We actually first met at the election count, and what a wonderful day! And to see, I'll try not to spoil a bit of your story, but when you were declared the winner, the pride in somebody who's very prominent in Bridgend BCBC, and you'll tell us who that is after, the pride in that person's eyes and the pride they had for you. And I spoke to the gentleman as well, and he was just beaming with pride, and it was great to see. Anyway, I'm gonna go on, tell us who that person is, because not everybody will know who it is. I do, and a few others do, but not everybody will.
Yeah, so my grandfather, Malcolm James, who is the Plaid Cymru councillor for Llangynoedd in my state.
Yes, it was great to speak to your grandfather and the pride he had for you, seeing you get elected, and even afterwards, you were crying when it was being announced, and I could see he was close as well. He was very close to it, but the pride he had to see his granddaughter getting elected, and at a young age as well, which is fantastic to see. You are the youngest councillor in the council at this point, is it? Being at 23, I believe.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yes, and we need to get more young people in because we need that generational understanding. But everybody has a different reason for getting into politics and subjecting themselves to praise and ridicule and abuse. Unfortunately, we saw one councillor, Sorrel Dendy, who was younger than you last time when she got elected, suffer some horrendous abuse, not just online, but posted to a home as well. That shouldn't happen. But everybody has their own different story of why they got into the politics and things like that, and the reason that said, right, I'm going to stand up and do something now instead of just see it go on and complain. What was your reason for standing?
So for me, it was a multitude of things, really. Obviously, my grandfather played a massive part in it. You know, I've seen him do it for many, many years, and he's very well respected up where he is.
Yeah.
But it was mostly because, you know, I've lived in Aberkenfig my whole life, same house, same street for all of my 23 years. So it was more of a giving back thing for me because, you know, so many people my age and so many people that I know just, you know, they grow up in an area and they sort of can't wait to get out because of that small town thing. You go off to uni for a few years, you get a taste of a big city, and you just want to go. So I thought, why not stay, make a difference, and, you know, be that loud voice that small villages need, because they do often get overlooked sometimes. And you know, there's so many things. I drive through the village every day coming home from work, and there's so many things. I'm like, oh, that annoys me so much. But now I've got a chance to do something about it. So
Yeah, that's great. I'd just like to say at this point, I've got people online. So can you comment if you can actually see me? Because I know Ellie can't at the moment, and we can't work
I
out
can
why.
see you now.
Oh, you can see me now, so
Yeah,
I am
you sort
around.
of popped up halfway through.
For some reason, my screen disappeared, but Ellie was still there. Um, I did have a thought. Now, during campaigns, people expect party candidates to run on a party message, and you did have some. They brought in some heavyweights to bring up against you in Mark Drakeford, at least once, in Aberkenvick, but and we see it from Labour, and I think I'm not sure with grandfather. I didn't see much of his campaign because I really thought your grandfather was going to win regardless, because your grandfather's been there a long time. He's very well respected. The only time I thought it is going to be close was when a few weeks before the election, all I saw was your grandfather's placards up in people's gardens and that. And then just a couple of weeks before the election, suddenly Labour's were going everywhere, but there were not one per garden. It was like 4 or 5 per garden, so it looked more than what it actually was. But you didn't run on the party message. You ran on your own message, which was personal to you and personalised to Aberkenvick, which is very strange for a party candidate. Why did you go that direction rather than going through party?
So for me, you know, I've always been very Clyde inclined, as you know, with my grandfather and things like that.
Mm.
And you know, their messages and their values really do line up with what I do stand for. But I think for this election, I think things just needed a bit of a shake up. And people in Aberkenfig, they want to know what you're going to do for them, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm only 23, so I don't have, you know, a lot of experience in politics. And, you know, people coming around previously canvassing for council elections, I haven't really been old enough to notice. But the way I saw it was, what would I want to hear? What would I want to see? And when it comes to local council elections, I think it's great to stand, you know, with a party that do line up for you. If you want to be independent, fantastic. But for me, it was more people are choosing me to represent them, not the party to represent them. So they want to know what I'm going to do for them and that I'm going to be
Mm.
there for them.
I think what you did in Aberkenwick was quite extraordinary. Not the fact that you run your own independent campaign. It was that the fact for 5 years it was applied before with James Radcliffe, and partway through he seemed to go missing in Aberkenwick a lot, which opened the door up to Labour, which is why they threw Mark Drakeford and everything, and they thought they had a real chance. But they didn't. And at the end, people could have said, "Oh, we went applied last time. We were abandoned halfway through because James had started working in the Senate, I believe, doing a lot of work there, not as a member of the Senate, but doing work for four members of the Senate." And Plaid could have really had that tarnished. And I think it helped where you went. I'm not going on a Plaid message. I could run on the free school meals that Plaid have got through because of the deal they struck with Labour and the Welsh Government to share power, which Labour went heavy on that message. Look what we've done, when it was the Plaid's um, manifesto pledge from last year when the Senate elections were on. That was their manifesto pledge. It wasn't Labour's. Um, so you could have really missed out from that. But I think it was testament to not only your hard work, you put in a lot of work, and you were on there. You seem to be out every other day or everything, but you had fantastic support from Luke Fletcher. It was great support. Now, I know you said Luke couldn't be there on the day because I believe he was on his honeymoon on the election count day, and I'm sure he'd have been prideful. But I think you've done a fantastic job, but you had that great support from Luke because he was always out with you. He was always on the pitches. He was always at the doorstep putting the leaflets in with you. Is it that support that got you through? If you were like on your own completely, it's say no support from a party or a group, like Bridgend County Independence or like that, if you're on your own, did you think it would be much more difficult for you to have done what you did?
Definitely. It was sort of one of those wards where, from looking from the previous years, you'd say Labour is pretty much a shoe in there.
Yeah,
It was one of those, and it got to a point where it was sort of anyone's game. But I think without that support, we wouldn't have been able to, cover as much ground as we did. I mean, we knocked every door from the top of Aberkenfig, from the top of the ward to the bottom of the ward, I think about
yeah,
8 or 9 times by the end of it. So I think by myself, I would have struggled. I definitely would have struggled. They provided us with that manpower to be able to compete
yeah,
against Labour, definitely.
yeah. I think, and I've got to say, Luke did a fantastic job, and congratulations to him on his recent wedding. And it'd have been nice to talk to him at the election count, but sometimes, yeah, he deserves a bit. He deserved a bit of a break and a bit of a
Yeah.
honeymoon. It was great. So, as I said, your election was really focused in on Aberkenfig and Coedra. You've got one of the weirdest wards because it's split. It's got Tondy in the middle, which is nothing to do with you. It's to do with Anna Sauder and St Bride's now. But you've got a completely split ward that doesn't actually join up. And does that make things a little bit more difficult?
It makes things a bit more difficult, but I think one thing we did a really good job with through the campaign is making people aware of what ward they were actually in.
Yes.
Because, a lot of people, like Tim is very big on social media. He does a
Yeah.
brilliant job. So a lot of people, because obviously Tondy and Aberkenfig are next door to each other, they do get quite confused. So, a lot of people on the doorstep were saying about Tim. And
Yeah.
it was one of those things where we have to try and explain to people what ward they were actually in. But it was, by the time we got to sort of the end of it, people were sort of understanding, oh, okay, it is slightly different.
Yeah, it did make it awkward because Tim's wife actually stood as the independent candidate in that ward. Now, we
Yeah,
want to vote for Tim. Well, no, you can't. It's his wife, is it? But it just never made sense to me why you'd split a ward like that. It just makes things so much awkward. Even if they just took above the railway line, Aberkenfig above the railway line and into Coedra and made that one ward,
yeah,
would be more sensible because everything's joined up. Then it's connected. You haven't got a split ward.
yeah.
Um, so, what are your big priorities in Aberkenfig? What have you noticed, or what have people asked you to really focus on over the next 5 years in that ward?
Well, like I said, I'm an Aberkenfig girl through and through.
Yeah,
So most of the issues we heard on the doorstep were something that were already quite set within myself. The biggest one is traffic and parking. The charm of Aberkenfig and Coedra and small villages like that is that they are old. They have their history. There's a lot to them, but they were never built to account for this many people and this many cars. And one of the biggest issues we face, obviously now Aberkenfig has the bypass road behind,
yeah,
but Coedra specifically is that main road into my stag. It's one road in and one road out, and they're the first point of contact when you come down from my stag. So it was never built to account for that, because obviously with Aberkenfig and Coedra expanding, it's great, but we also see the fallout then from where my stag expands as well, and things don't seem
mm.
to trickle down or follow suit further down that road.
And it's only going to get more difficult now with the housing expansion in Tondy that's planning to go ahead.
Yeah,
Coedra, you have the quite a nice road, a wide road going between Tondy and Coedra, but then it narrows so much, and you've got articulated lorries going down there, so much traffic. The road system in Coedra is not wide enough, and they can't really widen it. It's something that Coedra could really do with a bypass itself, to be
yeah,
honest. But the bypass doesn't always work because Aberkenfig one causes a lot of traffic where the two lights are so close together because of the railway bridge. So it's an ongoing problem that they've tried solutions, they haven't worked, and instead we're going to build another big housing estate that's going to only make things worse. We're going to expand my steg with more housing up there, which is going to cause you problems. We're doing great for other areas, but all the problems are filtering down to Coitrahane and Aberkenvic, which unfortunately is falling on your shoulders.
Yes, definitely. It's sort
So,
of this is one thing that helps is that I am very local because I do know the
mm,
issues very well. I've seen them get worse over time. So, I know what the villages used to be like. Obviously, it's always been a problem. I'm not saying it
mm,
hasn't always been a problem, but it's definitely gotten worse over the years. So I think, my sort of local knowledge will definitely help going towards planning for
yeah,
solutions.
plans. So you've been. It's nearly been a month now. It'll be just over a month. So you've had 3 weeks in the council. Have you done your first referral yet?
Yes, I've done a fair few. I think highways are very sick of me at the moment.
It's quite funny. The new councillors I see with BCI and even outside BCI, when they get their first referral, oh, it's so exciting! I can get to it. But then they've been brought back to the reality of we've got to do all this training, and it's been roughly about 3 weeks worth of training and a little bit more to do, and they're just itching to go out and start. And they know they've got 5 years, but they want to start getting started as soon as possible. Have you had that? Oh, do I have to sit here and train? Can't I just go out to my ward, speak to people, get this drain sorted, get this road sorted?
Yeah, it is one of those things because I think with the campaigning it's all or nothing. Like you said, I was out every day, Monday to
Yeah,
Sunday. We didn't have a day off. So it was all guns blazing, and now it's just all sort of come to like
a
a stop,
crashing
and it's
halt.
like I don't know what to do with myself now. I was doing laps around my garden.
Yeah, it's quite funny. But you've got, as you said before we went live, we had a little chat. And you said you think you got a little bit of training left. So once that's gone, we know about the highway issues and the road issues. Is there another massive problem that you see in Aberkenvic or Coitrahane, or even something that's affecting your ward that's just outside your ward that you think, well, come on, councillor, because you've got Heidi Bennett, Tim Thomas, Mark, John, and Paula, I can't remember her
Bored.
last, Paula Ford, yes, all bordering. Are you looking to actually work with them because the three areas, Penavey and St Bride's and Anasaran and Aberkenvic, are really closely interlinked. You've got Penavey, which is the other side of the main road that goes up towards Kevin Cribber. It's the other side where you've got the Swan Pub and up towards the Court Coleman and things like that. And then the other side is you're basically on top of each other. So is it a case of working all five of you together as a team
I
more?
I think it's so important. You've got your parties, you've got your independents and things like that, but I think we're all here because we have the same interests and we have
Yeah,
the best interests of our wards at heart, and that's the reason why we all stood for council. That's the reason why we all got elected. So, you know, like you said with mine's a bit of an awkward one where I've got St Bride's Minor and Anasaudra cutting right through the middle. So, it is something that is definitely in everyone's best interests for us to all work together. And like I said, small villages do get overlooked. The smaller wards will get overlooked sometimes. So I think with us all working together, we're just an even louder voice again.
yeah. It's good to hear that that's something you want to do because I know when because you've got two different parties and independents in that group there that all have their own voices. Each party has their own things they want to do, which is not necessarily what you want to do or what Heidi Bennett or Paula Ford want to do. And sometimes it means going against the grain and doing better for the community. So I'm glad you're looking to do that, and I hope you can take that forward because they are interlinked communities. What, no matter what anybody says, it's no point you working with Chris Davis up in Cairo because and the only thing that affects you is the traffic that comes down from that way. It's not sensible for you to work with Alex Williams in Pencoed on certain issues that affect your area. It's You work with him on the county level because getting the county thing's different, but you've also got to focus on your level as well,
Yeah.
which I'm glad you're going to do that because it's such a lovely area. I lived in Brimmenning for 25 years. Top of Jumberwell, everybody knows Jumberwell. I used to live right on top of it, and my family still live on Bridge End Road in Aberkenwick. I've got family there. My nephews and nieces all grew up in Aberkenwick, so I know the area very well, and I've got a lot of passion for that area and the surrounding area, Brimmenning, Brinkethyn, Sarnt, and all that is where I spent the last years of my high school education in the old Unasounded Comprehensive. Um, so it's good to see that somebody's got passion, especially somebody as young as yourself. I know it can sound condescending if I say somebody young, but we need more young people. We need a diverse range of people, and we need them to stand up, and we need them to feel comfortable in standing up and not getting abused while doing anything. I hope you haven't had anything like that because I think you were fantastic, and you were one of. Okay, I did get quite a few right, but you were one of the few I with the outside chance, which I did say, and you said, "No, I'm your lucky." That I was your lucky charm. And I thought, well, no, I'm not. You did the work. It's your work that did. I just made a prediction from what I could see was happening in Aberkenwick, and from what I heard from people on the ground there. This residents that I know. I couldn't predict everywhere because I don't know residents everywhere, but I'm glad I got that one. I'm glad you got in because you seemed passionate about doing it, which is what you need. It doesn't matter what party you are or what political persuasion, as long as you've got passion for your community, which is what should come first in every instance, and you showed that in abundance during your campaign. Sorry. Oh, it's just thing. But yeah, it's good. So you've got 5 years now. Um, we did talk a little bit about you doing at the election count, moving into a community council in some areas. You've got three, I suppose you could go for: Newcastle Higher, Anasaldra, and St Bride's. All three. I know you haven't looked at one yet because obviously you're feeling your way into what you're doing. You're doing your training, so other things can take a backward step. But is there one that you want to join more than any other at that point?
I am actually going to be hopefully co-opted onto the Newcastle Higher.
Mm.
I attended one of their meetings as a borough councillor, and I think they work very, very closely for Aberkenfig as it covers Pen y Fe and the
Yeah,
Aberkenfig ward. So I think I'd be put to best use on that one.
yeah. No, that's fine. I think Anasaldra would be difficult regardless for anybody, because the residents are very passionate there about the community council, and there's been a lot of problems that went on the previous. But before 2017, a lot has happened. None of it is still really resolved, and I can understand residents' frustrations. I was councillor myself there. I didn't get any of the abuse or anything from the residents, which other councillors have had. Um, and some of it is nasty. But as I say, I can understand their point of view as well of what's gone on. So that would have been a difficult one to do. It'd been nice to see you on Anasaldra one, but if it was a better ward to work in at that point. I think Leanne, Tim, Terry Nichols, and I think they've got another one on there. I can't think at the moment. My mind goes blank. But I think Leanne and Tim, over the last couple of years where they've both been on there together, I think they're putting it right and put it in the right direction, which is a great start. we'd just like to see it grow from there. And I think Leanne now, who is the new chair of the Anasauda Community Council, I think that will be good to take forward, and it'd be good to see. But as I say, you've got very close links with Anasauda as well, because that takes up part of your ward.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well. You don't have a very set ward, do you? Everybody's
No.
taking bits of it.
It's very blurred.
Yeah. Does your ward go as far up as where the fountain in is?
Yes.
It does. So
yeah, it goes up to the fountain, and then all of the green space covering Park Slip as well.
So you've actually got a fantastic area that I'd hope do you really promote with Park Slip, because that's a beautiful area. It can do more, and I hope you push as a BCBC councillor to get BCBC to put more funding in there, so it can become a great tourist spot, because they've got the miniature train, I believe, that goes through there as well, and there's a lot. It is very nice there. So you're actually quite lucky with something like that. Some people have just got completely built up areas, which is difficult, but you've got a lovely nature reserve or whatever it is there in Park Slip to go towards. Anyway, let's move on from that and thing. I've just got to think now. I'm looking at my list here. I know it's very early in your political career at community at county level. And you're still very young. There's a lot of years ahead of you. A lot of years. Is it your ambition to stay as a county councillor, or is there bigger ambitions to move it up to Senedd and maybe beyond?
The bigger ambition is there. I'm very. It's very difficult for me in a sense, because I always want to reach further. I'm terrible. Obviously, seeing how it goes as a county councillor, obviously I've never been in politics before. I've worked in retail my whole life, so it's all very new to me. And like we said, the passion for me is there, and I do have a passion for my community. So that is sort of, I'm starting out here, seeing how it goes. The political side to it is, like I said, all still very new to me, and sort of gauging how that goes. But yeah, I'll see what happens over the next few years. Because if you told me this time last year I'd be doing this, I would never have believed you.
So when was it you actually decided, I'm going to stand? Was it just before, or was it the end of last year? Because I was adamant November, December, January, even February this year that I wasn't going to stand for community council again. I had too much going on personally to do it, and it just got this. There was so much I still wanted to do in Coity Hire. We've done so much on the community council. We've been very progressive, and there was a chance we could take it completely independent, which we have done, and we can extend our ambition in the area. And thanks to Lisa Lewis, I've been dragged around here, there, and everywhere, and our plans are sky high between the two of us. Probably too far out of reach for community council, but aim high and see what happens. I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, so when was it you said, right, I'm going to do this? And did you decide that by yourself, or did you sit down and speak with your grandfather and your family to do whether you should do it at such a young age?
It was actually Luke Fletcher that gave me the final push.
Was it?
Yeah, because Luke's a young man in politics, and in the Senedd, I think he is the youngest. But yeah, he gave me the final push. I decided beginning of this year, so it was about January, February time. But I think it was a lack of confidence for me that was the biggest issue, because as a young woman, I haven't really seen a lot of young women in politics, so it is sort of felt a bit out of reach at the time. But the passion was there, the passion for Aberkenfig was there, and like my mother has always told me that I care too much about
Yeah.
things that don't concern me. So why not
Well,
make a career out of it?
yeah. Well, I'm glad Luke was the final push. I'd love to get Luke on one day because um, he went from a county councillor into the Senate in Senedd last year in a short period, and he worked really hard with himself. Now, being young, being a young female now, is it your responsibility to show what your generation and your gender and people who believe the same as you can do? Or is this okay? Because we do need, it's not just women or young people, it's across all social aspects of the spectrum. If we don't have a great reputation, I don't believe in this putting people in jobs because of what they are. I'd rather the right people be in the jobs. And I think that's where elections come in. That if somebody like you, somebody could just look at you and think, well, apply to put a young person who's female going for this all inclusion stuff. But then they could have thought that. But I think at the end of the election, and they were in no doubt that's what it was at all because of the campaign you ran. You weren't running off pride. Yes, you had Adam Price come down to help you at one point for one day. And you do sometimes need that support. But you went out and did that on your own. You put your message across and you convinced people. And now are you that ambassador to the next generation, to not just young women or young people, but to people who do feel it's going to be difficult for me to do this? Is this your role now? Is this your responsibility?
I feel like without saying yes or no, I think that sort of comes innately because, I am a bit of a rarity in politics as a young woman, young and women, and you mix the two together. So,
Yeah,
I do feel like I do have that responsibility, but also it's a bit of a privilege, really, that, like you said, I did my campaign and it was my message and people voted for me, not just because I was a young woman. People were saying on the doorstep, it's nice to see someone different, it's nice to see someone young, it's nice to see a woman. But at the end of the day, people won't vote for you if they don't like your message.
no,
So I think the fact that I can be that where someone, is maybe thinking about a career in politics or thinking about standing for council or, maybe just dipping their toe in the water, that I could hopefully be that final push for them where they can see, well, Ellie's done it, so it's a possibility. Because, like I said, I didn't have that. Like I said, I haven't kept track of politics for long enough to
yeah,
see all the different types of people. So the fact that I could possibly be that for someone else is it's nice.
yeah. What would be, I know you're new to this, but taken from a campaign standpoint, what would be your biggest piece of advice to someone in your position who doesn't really know politics but wants to make a difference and not like me, an old white man who thinks, I'm not saying that derogatory or anything like that. I'm just saying that's the standard, but we need to get other people in. But I don't believe in this just putting somebody because they fit that stereotype of they're a woman or they're disabled with that. You need the right people to do that. The loud voices, like I know online, I wasn't on Facebook. I wasn't didn't get on with Simon Green very well, but his work for disabilities over decades was fantastic, and he would have been that right person to promote that message to get those people. Sometimes it's not about the person you put. It's not about the outlay you put in, like a woman or a man or black or white or rich or poor or from any persuasion. It's getting the right person to put in there, because putting the wrong person could do just as much damage as put they're putting nobody in there, or even more damage if you put the completely wrong person in.
Sorry, what was your question?
Well, it wasn't really a question. It was really a statement. So I think the question would be: would you push, say, BCBC to open up more inclusive? If you want to be a councillor, if you want to make a difference, opening up, doing workshops across the county for young people, for disabled people, for ethnic minorities, to come in and say, "This is council. We'll help you. We'll give you advice, show you how you run a campaign." Because you could be the poster child for that thing in the scene. 5 years ago, Sorrel probably should have done something like that. It could have inspired somebody like yourself. I'm guessing it didn't. You probably didn't have much things. Sorrel, she was a year younger than you when she was elected. But again, we've only got one person under the age of 27, I believe, is the next age of 27, 28. And that's it. Rebecca Fudge would have been great. She's 21 and she came so close, and that was disappointing. It would be great to see more young people, because young people have lost a large voice in Bridgend, especially with because it happened during your time. Is the youth service going away from Bridgend and getting less and less? So they lost a big voice, and they need big voices back again. And you're one of those big voices. So would you encourage or bring proposal to BCBC to provide workshop for these young people to raise their voices? It's not just about going to the ballot box and voting with your voice, because you don't really say anything, you just put it in.
Yeah.
But standing up and saying, we want this, we need to do better.
Yeah, I'm all for it, because 16 and 17-year-olds could vote in this election, but I didn't hear from people really my age.
No.
Almost everyone that I know that is my age didn't even realize you could run for council at this age, and that's such a baffling thing. It's not out of reach. I'm 23. I am young, but just because you're younger doesn't
That
mean your
shouldn't be
voice
a
is any
barrier.
less valid.
No, an age shouldn't be a barrier
No.
to what you can do. Yes, there's a limit of, I think it's 18 at the moment, even though 16 and 17-year-olds can vote, and yet you can't stand till you're 18, which makes no sense to me. If you're going to have 16 and 17-year-olds able to vote, they should be able to stand as well.
I think that's how the council come to an informed decision as well, because if you have the same type of people voting on all these different decisions, the outcome's going to be pretty similar. You need people from different backgrounds, people of different ages, people with different perspectives. You need that to make an informed decision, and for things to properly change as well.
Yeah, I can give an example, and it's a little embarrassing on my part, but being part of Quinty High Community Council for the last 5 years, when you vote on things, I don't look at things as somebody, I'm a young woman, or I'm a woman, or I'm disabled. We were lucky enough on that council, we had somebody called Anita Davis, who was a Liberal Democrat, who has sight problems. And I just didn't, I don't think of those things because it's not their forefront in my mind. And if it's not for somebody like Anita who would highlight that, things can be missed, and that's what can be missed in the council as well. So so I believe you have to go in a couple of minutes, in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to leave the last 5 minutes to anything you want to say, anything that a message, whether it's to somebody young or something that's got a bee in your bonnet about, whatever it is, go nuts for it. I don't care if you insult somebody or have a go at somebody, or even me. You can have a go at me. I don't mind that. So go for it, Ellie.
I think the most important thing that I want to say is, it's a topic that we have discussed heavily. don't feel as though you are excluded from getting your voice out there at all. If you think it's something that is beyond your reach out to, your local community councillor, your local borough councillor, ask for a bit of advice. And like you said about workshops and things like that, I think it's a fantastic idea to give people the tools, because I think people sometimes feel excluded by default from
Yeah.
kind of these things because they don't know enough about it. And, the lack of information is stopping people from getting their voices out there. And, everyone has a right to have their voice heard about things that concern them and things that affect them. So yeah, do not ever feel like, even if it's a lack of confidence or a lack of knowledge, reach out to someone and someone will help educate you. And the proof is in the pudding. If someone like me can do it, anyone can do it.
I've got no doubt that if anybody did reach out to you personally, you'd help them all you can, or even move them to find the advice that you don't know about, because you've got such a network with your grandfather, you've got Luke Fletcher, and now you've got the whole council to draw knowledge from. It's all at your fingertips now.
Yeah.
So if anybody's out there, get in touch with Ellie. She'll help you out. If she can't answer it, she'll find somebody who can for you. Well, I'm glad I had you on, Ellie. You're the third only party member I've had on. From Tom Gifford was one, Ian Spiller before he turned independent. I turned independent. So I'm expecting within 5 years you'll be independent as well.
I can't make any promises.
No. Well, you stick to your guns and you do what you do best, is bring your own message, whether that's as a party member or as an independent or whatever you want to do. Just keep your own message, because it got you elected this time. Your voice, being somebody who is Aberkenvic, really got you elected, because you're talking about Aberkenvic. You're not talking about what happens in the rest of the borough. You kept it to Aberkenvic because that's what people think is important. And this is, they say, I've been accused of saying there's no place for parties in local politics. This is a classic example that says, yes, there is. Sometimes there are places when they've got that voice as well, when they've got their own voice to say, yeah, well, I'm doing this for my constituents. Party just step back a bit and just let me get on with it.
Yeah.
So it's been a real pleasure to have you on. I hope I can get you on with a group of councillors soon, county borough councillors, so you can all just hash out something and, like a debate. And,
yeah, give it a month.
it won't be like the chambers where people get told off to calm down and things like that, and you just go out. Because I think open, honest and forthright debate, without being insulting, without being personal, is how you find the answers to solutions, because you're not going to have the whole answer, nor is somebody else. But bringing those solutions together, you find the way of working that not just benefits the people you represent, but the whole county, because we're all different. We're all thinking not one size fits all. So it's been great, and I'll let you get on, and I'll hopefully see you again soon, Ellie. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Well, it was fantastic to have Ellie on there. I've had a little play. I don't know whether it's Martin's signal in West Wales that he's having problem, or it's the signal here, which is his fault because it's his internet here. So you need better internet, Martin. Anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've done for the last couple of weeks, because my situation's been thing. As most of you know, I've had housing problems. On the 15th of May, my tenancy came to an end, eviction. BCBC then on the Monday, the 16th, put me up in Court Colwyn Hotel till Wednesday the 25th. On the 24th, on the Tuesday, I was told they didn't have anywhere for me. They wanted to send me to Swansea, which is not viable for me with a child and other problems. But it's all thanks to Ed Sheeran. This is why I said This broadcast is brought to you by Ed Sheeran. His concerts booked up all the hotels in Bridgend and surrounding areas. They could only find something in Swansea. But I've had some fantastic friends in Council Lisa Lewis who let me sleep on the sofa for a couple of days. Martin and Amanda Williams, who have actually gone away this weekend and just let me stay in their house for the weekend. It's been nice. This is why I can bring you the live stream. But I haven't just been sitting around. I did one day in the hotel and my mental health just went completely out the window, so I had to get out as much as I can. On not this weekend, but last weekend, I, as part of the community councillor for Coity hire for Richard Ward, I took a walk around Richard, seeing what was going on, see if there were any issues. I cleaned a few street signs that were absolutely stinking, and you could hardly read what they were. So I cleaned them, and now you can read them. I picked up some referrals for Canterbury councillors to send through. They're done. The biggest issue when I talked to residents around there was the grass cutting that they hadn't been done yet, and we're in May now, and some of it looks awful. But this weekend I took a walk. Oh, and last weekend then on the Sunday I went for a walk down the Black Path with Councillor Lisa Lewis, her representative in Pendray Ward on Coity Higher Community Council, and Darren Brown, Councillor Darren Brown, representative for Richard. We took a walk down the Black Path. What a lovely place it is. I'd never been there before. I didn't know it was there, and it was lovely. I think Darren and Lisa have come up with a fantastic idea. Darren's putting together a proposal to bring forth to the community council. If that could be done, it's going to be brilliant for the communities of Richard and Wildmill and anybody else in the county who wants to go and use what he's planned there. I won't say what it is. It was Darren's idea. He's really pushed for something for the Black Path in speaking to him for the last few weeks and that. So it's his idea and I'll support it. I think it's fantastic. This weekend I taken a walk around Pendray with Councillor Lisa Lewis. Lovely area, great park. We picked up a fair bit of litter. We cleaned the signs again. Wasn't any major issues for referrals. And then Lisa took me to place where, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's right next to the hospital. As you're facing it, it's on the right hand side. It's a little housing estate, and you walk in there, and unfortunately, looks like it's been a forgotten estate. I personally didn't know of it. I wasn't Councillor Pendray. I know this year, this 5 years, I'm looking to represent everybody in the ward as a community council, not just stick to Richard and focus on Richard, but get around everywhere. So she took me in there. There's a lot of work needs to do. There's loads of benches in there, which is fantastic, but they're all broken, which they look like they've been put in years ago, and they in need of new ones. It's just a little forgotten area, and hopefully we can do something as a community council. Hopefully we can talk to Amanda and Martin Williams and Alan Watham, representatives for Coity Higher at the county level, and see if we can really do something with that area. Apart from that, me and Councillor Lewis have come up with some ideas for Coity. We're working on them. It's going to be a long process, but hopefully we'll see what we can do. For Coity Higher, this is the community council, not Coity on its own. Anyway, I have missed a lot over the last few weeks because I can't do live streams. It's very difficult. I'm tonight, as I said, I'm Amanda and Martin. Thank you very much for that again. I'll do ones where I can, which is great. But I don't know how long it will be till the next one, or how long my living situation being in flux will go on for. Hopefully it won't be too long, so I can do this back regularly. But something I haven't commented commented on because it didn't come up till Mondays, and I have on a post on Political Owl, but I haven't on a live stream or Facebook or done a video for it. On the 9th of May, it was announced that elected councillor Stuart Baldwin was not going to take up his position as elected councillor for Bridgend Town Central. It's caused such a furore online that even BCBC have been forced to release a statement on the issue, and now are going to be doing, as they say, an independent internal audit. I can't see how an independent internal audit will work. But I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. What happened was Councillor Baldwin applied for a job, the climate change manager in BCBC. He interviewed before the cut-off for the election, but was offered the position after the cut-off for election, so he couldn't come off the ballot, which I think is a bit silly in ways that you can't take someone off the ballot. Here's my thing. In that whole campaign, he campaigned to get elected by the public of Bridgend Town Council, Bridgend Central. He did a campaign. So he campaigned and got people votes to be elected, and now they've elected to do it, and he's turned down that because he was offered the job as climate change manager within BCBC. It's wrong. I feel sorry for the people that just missed out. Steve Easterbrook, Kerry Evans, they were so close on the vote count. I think there was about 5 votes between them in 4th and 5th. If Stuart Baldwin had been somewhat of, and I'm going to say this, and people will probably think, somewhat of a decent person, he would have gone through the campaign and said, I've got a position within BCBC, it's a paid position, I can't be a councillor, I got offered this after the cut-off date. I'm sorry, please don't vote for me, but vote for one of my colleagues, Kerry Evans or whoever else was standing with them. That would have been respectful of every candidate, the election process, and you, the voters. That would have been respectful, and people could have, it wouldn't be as bad as it is, the fallout from all this. Now what's going to happen is there's going to be a by-election, which is not just on for BCBC, but Bridgend Town Council as well, because he got elected on Bridgend Town Council and hasn't taken up that position. So in total, the election could cost about anything between £12,000 and £17,000, which is coming straight out of Bridgend Town Council budget and BCBC's budgets for their respective by-elections. It's an awful waste of money. It's something that should never have happened. The laws for that sort of period where somebody has got a job and they can't take an elected position, there should be some way to drop themselves off a ballot before the final day. There's got to be some way of doing that, because at the end of the day, this is costing more money out of a budget, especially in that area of Bridgend Central where Wildmill is, and they've got issues with the waste there. That money could have been gone towards finding a solution for the problems they're having there. As I said, it's disrespectful of anybody else who stood. It's disrespectful of the voters that he's asked for them to put their trust in him, and they've given that trust, and he's turned around and just thrown that trust away. It's awful. From my understanding, people in the Labour Party didn't find out until the Sunday morning of 8th of May after the election. So I can't put this on the Labour Party as a whole. I put this squarely on Stuart Baldwin's selfish ambitions. And being selfish, he should have, during that election, said, I've got a job, I can't take up the position of county councillor, but please vote for one of my colleagues in the Labour Party who is standing instead. Please do that. Then that was respectful of people, but he's done this and he's been disrespectful. Now we're going to come on to the position that he's been given with the BCBC. This position was a position created by his department, which is the community department. They had somebody in the job last year who had qualifications up and down the whole board, which met every criteria of the essential criteria for this job, up and down the board. That person had left the job since. That's why the job was re-advertised, and Stuart Baldwin stood for it. He's been interviewed by the head of department responsible for that. That is somebody who works under him, when he was a cabinet member for communities, it was a person who worked under him, and other people who worked under him. It's a definition of bad practice. It is, regardless of what your procedures are, anybody in a position of power shouldn't be interviewed for a job by people who work under them, no matter if they're in his department or not. It's like if I had a complaint against somebody I worked for and it was my immediate boss, and the only person I could complain about my immediate boss to would be my immediate boss. That is a definition of an unsafe working environment and an unfriendly working environment. You can't do that. There has to be other recourses. He shouldn't have been. But then we look at the essential criteria for the job. He needed a degree in a related field with climate change. He does not have that degree. That was essential criteria, and straight away he doesn't have that degree. He should never made it through the filtering process before the interview process. He shouldn't have made it that far. And now he's on a position that's £50,000 a year within BCBC as a climate change manager. This is a person who couldn't even sort out the waste problem in Wild Mill, and you expect him to do something in Bridgend. First thing I would do as the climate change manager is Bridgend council offices are all closed, but yet the lights are all on in there. They're on at night. First thing I'd be doing is walking around, switching off every light switch. It saves electricity. It saves. It lowers the carbon footprint straight away. But if you're keeping lights on in a building that's not being used, well, you're failing at your job as a climate change manager. He was not qualified for the job. He's no way, shape, or form qualified for the job. He meets none of the essential criteria. The only thing he has is his diploma in housing and other meeting group leadership roles. If you check his LinkedIn site, his LinkedIn page, but he doesn't have a degree that is related to climate change in any shape or form. He was not eligible for the job. But what this does is BCBC, well, we followed our process, but it opens up BCBC now thing. Mark Shepherd leaves, and I apply for the position. I've got no qualifications that says I'm right for that position or do for that position, that I should even be considered for it. But if they turn me down on the fact that I'm not got any of the criteria for the essential criteria, that opens them up to many, many suits of unfair practices, because they have set a precedent now of giving somebody a job who doesn't meet the criteria and yet turning down people who do. It had been interesting to see out the 5 people that were interviewed who had any of the essential criteria, who had more matching to the essential criteria than Stuart Baldwin did. So that's cause for fury. I believe the campaigns for... I'll just move that forward and lean forward a bit. Backstart is sitting up right too much. I believe the campaigns for this by-election for the county borough seat in Bridgend Central will be starting soon, so good luck to anybody who's standing. Essentially, I don't blame Labour for what happened. I blame Stuart Baldwin, but Labour should, after this, not stand anybody, because at the end of the day, it was their own party member, cabinet member, former mayor of Bridgend, a very prominent member of the Labour Party in the council, who's caused this problem, and they should respect that one of their people have taken voters for a ride. Basically, in my eyes, is committing fraud on the public, saying vote for me and then not taking up the seat. It's committing fraud. Yes, it's harsh words, whatever. a harsh tone, and I know there are many people who won't agree with that. Um, Personally, I think in that situation, the next person on the ballot who came forth should automatically be given that position, because the democratic process has been followed. Voting had been followed. We had a whole day of it. Um, yes, there were close results between um, Steve Easterbrook in fourth and Kerry Evans in fifth. I think 5 votes, and on the day there'd have been challenges, there'd been recounts, whatever. But Labour just need to take this in, just take the hit here and say, well, yes, it was a problem. It's caused by one of our members. We're going to take the hit and let the person in fourth get it. Or I believe BCBC still have all those votes that were recorded. They have to be stored for a certain amount of period, I believe. They're still there. Count them again. And if Steve Easterbrook gets it, Steve Easterbrook gets it by virtue of a recount. If Kerry Evans gets it, Kerry Evans gets it by virtue of a recount. Or they have a runoff between the two of them, and only those two. Nobody else. It shouldn't be anybody else. Shouldn't be anybody else involved who are nowhere near getting elected. I don't think Conservatives should put anybody up. I don't think any Plaid Cymru or Lib Dems or any other independent should be allowed to stand. It should be decided between these two if they want to stand, or if Labour say, no, we're backing off, we're getting the thing because it was one of our people that have done this, then Steve Easterbrook gets it. I wish good luck to both. Personally, I will give my personal opinions on these. I hope Steve Easterbrook does get elected. He's a nice gentleman. He works hard, but here's where another thing comes in. Not only is this election going to be costing Bridgend Town Council and Bridgend County Council, it's also going to be costing Steve Easterbrook if he chooses to stand. Now, as an independent, you have to fund everything yourself. You have to put the leaflets through the door. You have to pay for these leaflets. As a party member, you get these things paid for you. So this is unfair, and I think Steve should be able to have a recourse to claim this money from BCBC or the Labour Party, where it's going to cost him more to run the election again, to reprint these leaflets. Okay, he was working as a group with Tim Wood and Stephen Bledsoe, so putting out these leaflets they did as a group. So it's not him on his own, it's part of three, because they were trying to cut down costs. Now he's having to put it out on his own, which the costs are going to increase. This is going to be a more expensive election for him than the previous one was. Anyway, that's my thoughts and opinions on that. I hope if anybody has a thought and opinion, they bring it up. What else has happened? There was something else concerning BCBC. Can't remember what it was at this point, so I'll go on to something else that I've been. This is not a local issue. It's not BCBC problem or any community council problem. This is a Wales problem, and I think it's serious enough that it should be brought up in here, because the long-term ramifications could affect community councils and town councils. Oh, someone's messaged me. Give me a second. Nothing important. Nothing to do this. Is Welsh Labour are looking to change the way the voting system, the election system works in Wales. This is being backed by Plaid Cymru, so they have a 2/3 majority in the Senate at the moment, so it's looking more than likely that this will go through. I'll explain what it is. Instead of a first past the post system and voting for a local person, a person you can actually see, you'll be voting for parties. So you vote for Labour Party or Conservatives, or Plaid Cymru or Lib Dems or whoever. You vote for the party, and then they decide who they're going to put in where you think. You're not voting for a person. It will mean the end of any independent ever possibly ever getting elected in the Senate. It's difficult enough as it is, but independents will be completely gone after that. And how they're doing the system would be, say, Labour got most of the votes. They get given 60 seats out of, yes, it's going up to 96 seats as well, which is nearly is not far off a 43% increase in the number of Senate members, but an extra £20 million out the budget a year. That £20 million could go somewhere else every 5 years. That's £100 million being spent on an extra 36 Senate members instead of £100 million going into good projects across Wales. So let's say Labour gets 60 seats. Now, when they choose the people who they're going to put in those seats, it'll be one man, one woman, one man, one woman, which is the complete wrong way to do this. I spoke with this about Ellie. I've got no problem with women or minorities or disabled people, or any young people or anybody being elected, but they need to be elected on the merit, on the message they put forward, speaking to their constituents. We have no say who those one man, one woman would be. It'll be the party that decides after all the votes are counted and after whoever wins. It'll be them who decide, and they put in somebody who they feel is that. So cronyism could be rife through this, not just for men, but for women as well. It's a bad way to do things. It's disgusting, and this shouldn't be decided by the Senate. It shouldn't be decided by the members of the Senate. And why Plaid Cymru are backing this, I really don't know, because this is a way for Labour to stay in power much longer, because overall across Wales they get a much larger percentage of the vote, but due to first past the post proportional representation, you're electing a person for an area, so Plaid Cymru actually do better having individuals elected in certain areas. Whereas if you've got a Wales-wide one, they would possibly lose seats, and Labour, because Labour would increase their seats dramatically, because Conservatives would lose more seats, and Lib Dems will find it really difficult to ever get a seat again. It is disgusting. It's taken away democracy. It's not democracy anymore. It's we want to do it our way, and we want to keep our power and our struggle, our power and our financial resources for as long as we want. And it is like a communist country saying you can only vote for these people, because you're taking away a choice of independence. You can only vote for these parties, these groups, which is what they do in certain places, in certain dictatorships. And I'm going to call it, it's going to end up being a dictatorship where, and that's the worst thing that could happen. It really is. But my biggest fear is that will filter down to county councils and then town and community councils. What if that voting system filters down? You'll never see another independent representative again. You will never see them. It will be pointless them even standing, because they're not standing for area. It's not about local politics anymore, which is what Senate members should be fighting for, is their local politics and what they do locally, because they're there to represent the people that voted for them, which is the local representation. What this does is take away any sense of locality, connection, or anything like that. It's our party wants to do this, we want the seats, so we're going to make a way for us to have those seats so we can do what the hell we want. And that's what they're doing. It shouldn't be the members of the Senate who decide this. It should be the voting public who decide how our voting system is done. And it shouldn't be if the voting public vote for that, then fair enough, well, that's fine. But I'll still rail against it because it is taking democracy away from voting. What's the point of voting when you're only voting for parties? You're not voting for a person. What is the point of that? There is no point. Parties only have party interests quite often. You get rarities like Ellie, who looks at her own message. She's part of a party in Plaid Cymru, but she stood on her own message in Aberkenfig, and that at the end of the day is what won her that seat. Her own message, her own determination, and speaking to her constituents, the people she was looking to represent. Labour Party chucked Mark Drakeford at it. They chucked Hugh Rankin Davies at it, Chris Elmore at it at Aberkenfig, and still didn't get anywhere near beating Ellie. It's because it was a party message. It wasn't a local message. It's hitting what the party wanted, and not what Aberkenfig needed. And that's disgusting. I think this is absolutely disgusting the way they're doing this, and I think everybody, whoever you are across Wales, if you're lucky enough to see, unlucky enough to see this, or get a glimpse of this, or share it around as much as you can, please, people, spread it far and wide, because I think this is such a serious issue. And I will be starting a Welsh Political Owls to focus on problems going across Wales to do with the Senedd and things like this. It is such a big issue that your rights and your democracy is being stripped away from you. We get people saying, "Oh, I vote if I voted for another party, my grandfather would spin in his grave if I didn't vote for Labour Party." Your granddad wouldn't recognise the Labour Party as it is today, because it's not there fighting for the working man. It's not there fighting for the underclasses. It's there fighting for its own elitism. It's their own pocket, to line their own pockets and things like that. It is doing that, and this is absolute proof of that in what they're trying to do across Wales with changing the voting system. At the moment, it's with an independent committee to make recommendations. The Labour leadership in the Senedd don't have to listen to those recommendations and can put forth the proposal as is, increasing the number of Senedd members from 60 to 96, costing an extra £20 million per year, £100 million over one term. That's £100 million of your money that could be better spent supporting county councils, could be better supporting improving roadways, better facilities within Wales, increasing tourism within Wales. So as it will increase to 96, and they'll change the voting system where you stop voting for people, you start voting for parties, and that's all it is. And that will be complete death of independence and groups like Liberal Democrats as well. They will struggle to get any more than one seat or two seats ever in Wales, and Conservatives' vote will go down as well. I do hope people band together and speak to your Senedd member, whoever it is, whether it's Hugh Rankin Davies to Tom Gifford, Luke Fletcher, anybody, and say, this is wrong. This is wrong. Please don't do this. Speak out against it, because it's not democratic. It's elitist. Anyway, that's that done. I'll get off that rant now. I could probably be on there forever. I wish there was somebody else who could come on with me. It's been good to see that these new councillors are eager to get moving, and they've been doing some referrals. But Facebook has been pretty quiet at the moment for the last couple of weeks. I'm guessing it's because the majority of the new councillors are doing training or still have some training to do. But I'm glad people like Chris Davis and Ross Thomas and Alex Williams are still posting, because they've been through all the training already before, so they can just carry on with work. I've seen some of the councillors who are just raring to go, just want to jump out the gate, but they've got this, they're waiting for them to open that gate so that they can just run with what they want to do what they need to do. It's good to see that Stephen Bletzer and Tim Wood have had a bit of success in Wildmill already. Residents didn't get their bags in January, even though they were told they've been delivered. And believe this weekend, Kia had started delivering the blue bags and the waste recycling bags. After whether it's Steve or Tim Wood putting a referral to get these done, it's good it's been done so quickly. I understand not everybody has had them. If you haven't, please contact Steve or Tim Wood. They'll get onto it for you. They'll get it sorted. It's good to see community councils up and underway. I think the majority have their AGM already, because they have to be done within a certain amount of days after the election. We've had ours on County High Community Council. We had it less than a week after, which was good. Go to one of your local town community council meetings if you're a member of the public. It's fascinating. You can get some insight on things, and you can have your say. A lot of them are doing hybrid meetings or online meetings, so it's good to see that. I'll give props where it's due. Councillor Chris Harding on Bridgend Town Council is posting up a lot about Wildmill area. He's very passionate about it, so well done, Councillor Harding. Keep up that work and keep pushing to get things done. There was really something else I had a little bit today. I'm not sure of the complete post, but Councillor Penhale Thomas had put a post on today about dismay with a bus service in Mysteg being scrapped completely, a vital service for people to get into the centre of Mysteg. I believe it's a route service around Mysteg, and it's been cancelled, and it's going to cause a lot of problems for people who can't get into appointments in the centre of Mysteg, things like that. I believe he's given a small interview for Nation Cymru on there, so check out his page and see what that's all about. I think it's silly in where the Welsh Assembly is saying we need to increase public transport, we need to do this, we need to do that, and then bus services are being taken away. You can't shout with what on one side saying, yeah, we need to do this, and then the next day say letting bus services being taken away from people who need them. And okay, the bus service may only have a 50% occupancy, but it still means people need it. It's not everything can be fully funded by people using it. You've got some of this thing has to be taken by the operators who do make their money and do have a lot of concessions given to them. I remember I used to work for First Cymru. I did training, started as bus driver, and one of my trainers said to me, you do realise that First Cymru, even before they send a bus out of a day, have broken even for that day because of the tax breaks and the refunding fuel and the cost less fuel, and then the money coming from council to run services. It breaks even before they even leave. Whether that's true, but that's what I was told by somebody who was training me. So if that's the case, there should be no excuse for any bus services being taken away at all. If they're making profit, if they're breaking even before a bus leaves the depot for the day. So yeah, so I'm gonna leave it there. I can't remember what was the other thing I wanted to talk about. It may come to me later, I don't know. If it doesn't, I'll do a post on it. Thank you for joining me today, and once again, thank you to Councillor Ellie Richards from Aberkenvic. It was great to have her on and great to have another opinion on. I hope more party counsellors will get wind that I'm not here to show you up or here to have a go at you, or I'm here to let you speak your piece and try and find common ground. I'm here to let you promote your own message. There are times, like if I could ever get Mark Drakeford on, I would put questions to him. I would be forceful on certain questions. If Stuart Baldwin came on, I'd be forceful for him, but he's not a political, he's not a councillor anymore. He's in his position. Anyway, I will say thank you for joining me. For those of you who join me, thank you to those who are watching at a later time. It's been great. Please spread this around. Please share this around to people, especially if you want a clip there talking about this change in voting with the Senate. Please share that around because that is vitally important. But yeah, have a nice Sunday. Have a nice Whitsun holidays coming up and a Jubilee weekend next weekend. So have fun, everybody. Good night.